across the castle. I would like to invite our graduates into the Schwartz Theater now to begin our graduation ceremony. Welcome, graduates. We're going to begin with a few opening remarks from our colleague, Melissa Mathewson.
Thanks. Why do we write? Over time, writers have explored this question deeply, but none better than Terry Tempest Williams. She writes, I write because I believe it can create a path in darkness. I write with a knife, carving each word from the generosity of trees. I write with the colors of memory. I write as a witness to what I have seen. I write as witness to what I imagine. I write with the belief of alchemists. I write knowing I will always fail. I write knowing words always fall short. I write past the embarrassment of exposure. I write because it is dangerous, a bloody risk like love. To form the words, to say the words, to touch the source, to be touched, to reveal how vulnerable we are, how transient. I love this idea that here we are together in this space, celebrating literature, learning writing, and yet all of it is transitory and permanent. And this provisional movement, in my mind, makes the craft of writing an even more urgent and exceptional task. So, to send us on our way, I'd like to briefly invoke my favorite, Virginia Woolf, with some wise advice and a little humor for our graduates. She writes, regarding poetry, though just as relevant to prose, summon all your courage. Exert all your vigilance. Invoke all the gifts that nature has been endowed to bestow. Then let your rhythmical sense wind itself in and out among men and women, omnibuses, sparrows, whatever come along the street, and it has strung them together in one harmonious whole. That, perhaps, is the writer's task, to find the relation between things that seem incompatible yet have a mysterious affinity, to absorb every experience that comes your way fearlessly and saturate it completely so that your poem, your prose is a whole, not a fragment. To rethink human life into poetry and so give us tragedy again and comedy by the means of characters in the poet's way. That is what we look to you to do now. But as I do not know what I mean by rhythm, nor what I mean by life, and as most certainly I cannot tell you which objects can properly be combined together. That is entirely your affair. And as I cannot tell a dactyl from an iambic, and am therefore unable to say how you must modify and expand the rites and ceremonies of your ancient and mysterious art, I will move on to safer ground and turn again to these little books we create themselves.
Thank you, Virginia Woolf. So thank you all for being here to honor our graduating class. Each of the 5 cohorts of students I've seen move through this program has been uniquely its own. But this cohort was unique too in that they, as one of them mentioned earlier, were denied the initial face-to-face residency due to COVID. This worried me a great deal. I feared they would fail to cohere as a collective and fail to form the bonds of allyship that would sustain them beyond their course of study. But that was, as with most fears, a false one, as they made every effort possible to forge those lasting bonds. The success of their theses readings is all the evidence required to assure us of their tremendous talent, good humor, and hopeful futures as writers. On behalf of EOU, the MFA, and Jody Varon, and myself, I thank our graduates and our remarkable faculty for opening the way toward the pure, clear word and the integrity of voice and vision we've witnessed over these last 2 days. And I want to especially thank Nick Neely for all the work he's done to transform this program into something that Jody and I could only have dreamed of. You, Nick, are truly its leader. Congratulations to our graduates, their families, their mentors, and teachers.
Thank you for that, David. Such kind words. I'm Nick Neely. I'm coming into my 3rd year here now at EOU and in the MFA program, and it's a privilege and honor to speak just a few words. I thought I would have more to say, but I think somewhere along the week, maybe at Morgan Lake, maybe at HQ last night, I left my wisdom mainly behind. But I will say this, the value of an MFA program is not only a deepened craft, a sense of tradition, and a growing body of work, but also the incredible and lasting connections you've made and the conversation you've had with each other. My greatest hope is that you all will stay in touch with each other and with us, and that each of you will find 2 or 3 others with whom you will continue to share work. Writing is done alone, but if it's done all alone, it's that much harder. I know this from experience, and to be honest, it's one of the main reasons I decided to return to the university and be here at EOU. I'm here to help you find the same community that has been important to me, and I know so many of our faculty, and has fostered for us the most fun and stimulating times of our lives. Know also that the MFA is not the terminus, though it is a terminal degree, but of course, the beginning and initiation into the larger community of writers and of writing. It will take effort to make physical and mental space for your writing going forward, and it will be harder without our deadlines. But now you are prepared. You have built a writing practice. You are also prepared to seek out your own deadlines and motivations. You have a stronger sense of when, where, and how you will be ready to send out your work, and how to hold each other accountable. Be patient with your writing and with each other, but not too patient. Get your work out there, hold each other accountable in amiable ways. Say yes to opportunities and invitations and work to create them. Don't think twice about rejections. I will also say that so long as I and many others are involved in this program, we will increasingly strive to support you, our alumni, and to include you in creative ways. That is our commitment to you. We've taken a step in that direction this year in our Lit Week programming and more, and we hope to expand our support for you each year as we grow as a program. We will invite you back to read again soon and to teach classes, and we will start things like an alumni book club to help bring us together and keep us together. Keep the conversation going. We will make sure you're invited to our virtual panels and our real panels if you're in town, and we're ready to go to bat for you when you need us most. Most of all, we are open to your ideas. Please share them with us. With that, I will say again, congratulations. We are amazed by you and can't wait for your work to increase and find its way into so many communities, large and small. Thank you.
So I'm going to call out the graduates one at a time. Oh, you're going to come over here. That would make it so much easier. And please come up. Nick will give you your empty diploma holder. The diploma will be sent to you from the registrar's office once they've checked all their boxes soon. Certainly before before you start Social Security. So you can count on it. First, Laura Alex, Evelyn's story, one woman's struggle against the KKK. Congratulations, you did it. That's right, our photographer. Phil Carson, Pee Wee Martins and Other Stories. Very good. She's good. Leah Hedberg, Variegations. I've never done this. Congratulations. Jay, Patrick, Kelly, Where Rivers Collide. Hey, don't you go away just yet. You bet. Colette Marie, Dragging the River for Joy. Good. Cheyenne Moshk, I Love You More. Sorry, I had to say it that way. Your husband once said to me, you pronounced it correctly. Who am I to doubt? Alexander Ortega, Yoklore. You bet. Let me get a picture of you. My goodness. Kyle J. Rowland, Unraveling. Way to go. Chase Van Weirdhuizen. Got that down there, didn't I? You did. My apologies to your family and all your ancestors. And last but not least, Chelsea Waters, Gaujai. Okay, thank you very much. And we
would also like to recognize Jeanette Bennon, who couldn't be here with us. She was able to walk during EOU's grand graduation ceremony in June, and hopefully she was watching today.
Well, if she is watching, it's late at night, I think, in Ireland. So And now we're going to have some closing remarks from one of our graduates, Leah Hedberg.
Yakoki, thank you. Gracias. Many thanks again to the faculty, administrators, visiting writers, fellow students and graduates, friends and families for your presence with us today. Quiero agradecerles por apoyarnos y escucharnos. Thank you for supporting us and listening to us, y por celebrar con nosotros el lenguaje creativo. Chi yakoki lifihna. I thank you very much. In celebration of our community of creative language and making, I'd like to share a brief story with you in closing. In my small workshop at Fish Trap last week, someone brought up the topic of Indigenous language studies, and a woman sitting beside me said, under her breath, "Why bother? Why bother to study endangered native languages?" She was a lovely person and a well-educated writer, not a student here, but someone with an MFA degree, wondering why. She likely did not mean it maliciously. It seemed like an expression of dismay at the extent of loss in our world, an aside to the shared grief of living in a time of mass extinction. But it was still deeply dispiriting to hear. Fatigue settled into my body as I walked home from the gathering, because I've been studying the Choctaw language. It's a long path to fluency for an adult learner, and there are few speakers where I live with whom I can practice. And as writers know, any practice with words involves learning, forgetting, discouragement, like plodding up a sand dune, 1 step forward and 2 steps back. But disheartening as it was in the moment, this question was a gift, in part because I couldn't stop thinking about it. It seemed like a seed, the kind of question that holds both the problem and the answer. The moon had been rising fuller each night over Wallowa Lake, and Thursday night, as it started to wane, those words, why bother, clouded my thinking. In that same vein, why bother monitoring or caring for endangered species? Why bother reading books by dead writers? Why bother with words at all? It was a rational question, though maybe not a wise one, to speak aloud. And yet, speaking our questions aloud, wondering about our own human folly, is one of many things we do as writers. What I started to think about was an ecology of why we bother. How there must be as many reasons as there are languages, and how this community forms the living answer to the question with distinct and interconnected reasons. And not only as many reasons as there are languages, but as there are writers as well. So in this spirit, I'd like to share a personal answer in the form of a poem that I wrote in Choctaw. And in the interest of time, I won't read the English translation, in part because with my limited range of expression, the literal layer of this poem is less rich than the soundscape. But in the practice of that sound, the music of the language and how it instructs the body is one of many reasons for writing. Language is culture making and world forming, and embodying it teaches speakers intuitively in a live, resonant way about the breath, which is the life we share. For instance, in this poem, you'll hear the word sashki, meaning my mother, and you'll hear the suffix ash, which in Choctaw has to do with the passage of time. So there's pelashash, which means yesterday, and ninakash, which means last night, and chakosikash, a little while ago. If you have a child or if you've spent time around babies, you know the shh sound is universally soothing. It invites a turning outward from the concerns of self and awakening to the sounds of another. For me, sashki and the ash suffix suggests something incredibly comforting in the flow of time, perhaps a call to attend to deep time in which chattering stops and we listen into history. Pilashash, Ninakash, Chikosikash. There's also the word itiachi, which is the dual form of the verb ia, meaning to go. And in Chatta, when two beings act together, they have a unique verb tense. This inspires me in relationship, and I think it's just a rich revelation for partnering on any kind of endeavor, as we all have here. And finally, in language learning, there's always surprise in how languages talk to each other. In this poem, I included the word book, which sounds almost identical to the English book, and in Choctaw, a book is a river. Katahosh book ia, who is going to the river? Kuchayat hashitomi hoshikiya, katima ishiachi, book ialachi. Alonsiyat okesushi pet pisa, okakapassa mechalasakvi, book ialachi. Yammat kata, yammat sashki, book bilika benili. Nanta ish pisa. Hachon choba iskitini pisali. Hachon choba is an alligator. Book pit balili. Tathlili. Kucha iali. Book ialachi. Ninakash ombatuk. Bokat taloa. Hitha. Miti. Book itiachi. Finally, as I was wrestling with this question of why bother, I was heartened and inspired by this community as later last week, many of us witnessed the Nez Perce language acknowledgement when we traveled to La Grande and heard Laura Day's reading in class on looking to the etymologies of our many shared heritages for clues about worldview and approach to living. This week, we had the opportunity of Melissa Mathewson's life-giving workshop on writing toward joy, and Nick Neely's class on how trees can be a portal to re-examining life, researching and naming experience as it branches and refracts. And in Chris Condrich's comments from his reading implicating human futilitarianism in ongoing loss was an affirmation that whether we're talking about personal endeavors, mortality, or collective ecological concerns, why bother is perhaps the pressing question of our time and our shared calling as creative language workers. Why did we all gather here on the verge of various crises to write? Knowing this incredible, devoted, creative community, I can't wait to see how each person continues to be a living answer to this question. Yakoki, gracias. Thank you for your time, support, and listening, and congratulations to my fellow graduates. Thank you.
Congratulations. I'd like to call up our... Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank, before we go, Sheldon and Devon, who are in the booth and have made this program run smoothly and archived it for all time. Before we go, I'd like the graduates to please come up here for a photo in the center. Maybe everyone could avail themselves of this opportunity, and we'll give you one more round of applause. Come on up. Congratulations. We will have a modest reception out in the Loso Hall lobby in a few minutes as we set up.